Accessibility to raw material and farming implements is generally acquired through a supplier that plays a cognitive part in the farming process. Rodney Moret of Farmerama explains their involvement in this process.
Well, Farmerama has been supplying communities in the Eastern Cape for 30 years now. It's been our mainstay of our business for all that time. And that means agricultural seeds, fertilizer, chemicals, and also irrigation equipment, tractors, implements. It's the full range that we've been able to offer, much as a co-op would do. When it comes to communities, there is a huge shortage of knowledge. And there's a lack of knowledge amongst the communities. So we have got our reps on the road who act basically as advisors as well as suppliers. Our suppliers are willing to come in and do training, but they require that all the extension officers are brought to one place, and that a decent training setup, and that they could spend time with them. But the extension officers don't have transport, so how do we actually get them here? So on many occasions we have asked the likes of Sasol, Omnia, the big fertilizer companies, the tractor suppliers, New Holland, have definitely said and stated that they were willing to train these people. Well, there's been hundreds of projects over the years, mainly supply, but there were 19 projects a couple of years back where we did for the East London municipality, where we supplied and installed and mentored the communities. Our contract expired after a year, and I don't know where those communities are today, but I believe most of them collapsed. So while we were there actively pushing, things worked, but when things started breaking down, the communities didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, the extension officers did not fill the gap when we left, which is a tragedy. It really is, because all that capital was spent, given, and is now wasted. Land ownership is an absolutely crucial aspect to agricultural development. If you just step back and look at the Eastern Cape and you say, where has agriculture developed and where has it not developed? Well, it's only developed where land ownership is determined. Where the ownership of the land is in question, people won't commit to spending and committing to working that land. Agriculture needs to grow in the Eastern Cape. Government has determined that the only two areas where we can grow and develop in the Eastern Cape is tourism and agriculture. They've said this many times, it's not something new. For that to happen, they have to address these very crucial issues. And as I said, one of them was land ownership. The other one is the support infrastructure, which we put in the form of training for the people. You can't expect a farmer who has never been trained to suddenly be given a piece of land and expect it to be productive. This is not going to happen. It's a highly complex process involving many different technologies, and if they're not au fait with all of those technologies, you can't expect them to succeed. So training is paramount. Another one of the problems which I think needs to be mentioned is the fact that the people living on the land very often do not want to be farmers. I believe that a survey was done by Zola Gabetta a number of years ago, who was at that stage Permanent Secretary for Agriculture in the Eastern Cape. And he found that only 15% of the people living in the rural areas actually wanted to be farmers. Now, that's a very important statistic, because if we're talking about government allocating money, where are they allocating this money? Are they allocating it to those people that want to farm, or are they allocating it to everybody? Because there's a level of commitment from those who want to be farmers that will make it succeed. And perhaps that level of commitment is not there for those who've just received the money. Logistics of getting agricultural inputs into or to the farmers is a big problem in the Eastern Cape, for a reason that the roads very often are not the best. Just this season now, we've had to deliver a huge quantity of fertilizer into the Transkei, and we were caught with rain. And there were quite a few nights where my staff had to stay out all night unloading fertilizer in the rain because the trucks could not get to the farms. And this means redistribution and a lot of extra expense for us, because we have to supply that fertilizer to the farm even if it is off-road. So those are big problems. Also, the communications, when a guy has a problem and he's miles away from anywhere, now to get an expert to go and determine what is actually wrong with the crop. The guys don't want to go out there because there's 60 kilometers of extremely bad road. So your reps or your technical people or technical support is just not there because of those roads. Obviously, for agriculture to work, there has to be a product sold. If you are looking at the rural applications as we've got over here, I can give you an example like Nocha. We supplied Nocha an awful lot of inputs over the years, but they have a huge problem getting their crop to market, which was firstly logistics, but also to get it to the market at a time and a place when there's the right price, and to have the markets accept their product for quality reasons. So it was quality of the product, it was the logistics, it was the fact that other people have already sewn up the market. So when he gets his product there, he's at the back of the queue. And the Nocha farmers battled with that, because we would help them. We would deliver fertilizer and then bring back loads for them to try and help the logistics, but only get the product to the market. Either they didn't want the product, or they had already fulfilled their contract requirements. And here was the farmer sitting with his product, couldn't be sold. So I really have empathy with the poor rural farmer, because he really does get to the back of the queue. And there needs to be a support structure put in place to actually guarantee that they are also going to be contractually accepted as suppliers. The economics of modern day farming is such that volume is the only way that you are going to survive. And if we have a look at farmers, the statistics in South Africa show that in the last 10 years, the greatest productivity increase has come from the farming sector. Now, if you're going to go and look at those farmers, they're highly successful, very productive, and the only reason that is so is because they've been able to maintain volume. Now you come along with a rural community, and he's got 2 hectares. He's up against a farmer in the Vaal Triangle producing onions on 100 hectares. How's he going to compete? It's just almost impossible unless he is given huge support and some really incredible planning. If they don't realize this reality of the South African agricultural system, I'm afraid we will be pouring money down a never-ending hole. If there was a village and we did 3 projects in close proximity to one another, what we would do is one would have eggs or be producing eggs, another one would be producing broilers, a third one would be producing the vegetables, so that they could sell within each other. Because if you want an economy to work, I must have something that you want, and you must have something that I want, and then the economy can work. And so it needs to be strategized along those lines, so that you can get this synergy or synergistic support of agricultural inputs or supplies. One of the problems that we have experienced is the lack of coordination between departments. We have, for instance, got Department of Agriculture, Department of Social Services, all the municipalities, all involved in agricultural projects. And it appears, because we are not in the know, that these are almost uncoordinated activities. And we agree that there's a huge need for agriculture, but there needs to be more coordination. For instance, when you deliver a tractor to someone who only owns 2 hectares of ground, it's overkill. And these instances, I can guarantee, have occurred. And we want to see better coordination between these departments, so that the money is spent wisely, and that we see results at the end of the day, because our goal is to see the Eastern Cape thrive. We want to see that thrive.